Yeah, that's V. We'll talk about her eventually. Welcome back everyone to another episode of Murder Drone's lore series. All the previous parts are linked down below, and go check out those first if you haven't already. Last time we covered my favorite episode, Cabin Fever, where Uzi fully lost control of herself to the absolute solver for the first time, and we also got a huge heart-to-heart moment between N and Uzi, truly shaping the way that we see Newsy as a duo in the future. Now we're moving on to episode 5, Home. And folks, this episode's massive. It contains a lot of lore, so please pay attention. The episode opens up in the library and N is inside reading to himself, surrounded by a bunch of malfunctioning worker drones, including V, who's just sitting there quietly listening. It's calm before everything literally starts to fall apart. N eventually meets up with Sin, who is carefully preparing some tea, and while we see the lightning be flashed, we see a glimpse of Sin's eldritch form. But later on, N and Sin decide to make their way into the dining hall where Tessa's getting ready for the gala with Jay helping her out. And that's where Sin mentions that Jay forgot to let her out of her basement timeout again, which is honestly such a small throwaway detail, but it shows us a lot about how Sin was being treated by not just the other worker drones, but also by Tessa herself. And this is where things start going downhill fast. Louise, Tessa's mother, shows up and immediately scolds at Tessa for bringing out what she calls her dumpster pets. She demands that Sin be kept out of her sight completely. On top of that, she wants all the broken worker drones sitting in the library to be thrown out entirely. Sin is not having it. She speaks up and tells Louise directly that they are not broken and they cannot be thrown out. And N, seeing this whole situation about to blow up, steps in and takes the blame himself. He claims he's the one who told Sin to talk back like that, which honestly is such a classic N move. He'd rather actually take the punishment himself than actually let someone that he deeply cared about suffer for something that he could shoulder instead. And that punishment comes fast. N gets taken outside and chained up to a tree, where a flock of crows start pecking at him. At first, he's laughing it off, treating the crows just like they're tickling him. But then, things shift, and the crows turn sinister and try eating him alive. That's when Uzi hacks into one of the crows and reveals herself to N, who has no idea who she is at this point. She tells him that something inside of him is actively trying to delete his memories, and Uzi tells him he needs to head into the basement if he wants any answers. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Tessa herself has been grounded and chained up in her room, alongside Jay and Sin. And later, we see Sin transform into her eldritch form that we saw earlier, and she says something to Tessa. She warns Tessa to not come at the gala because she will see something that she doesn't want to see. Sin also thanks Tessa, telling her that she was the one person in the entire Elliot Manor who is actually nice to her. Meanwhile, N and Uzi walk through the front doors of the manor, which is now in complete disarray. They come across V's body, and here's a detail worth studying. V already looks like she's in her disassembly drone form at this point, and she still looks like she's in a pause state that we saw earlier in the episode, but she's basically just sitting there, already converted to a disassembly drone. Neither N nor Uzi have fully processed what this means with V already in her disassembly form. N and Uzi quickly realize that the basement doors need a key and they don't have one, so they proceed to go look for it. Meanwhile, Jay and Tessa manage to break free from their chains and arm themselves, determined to stop Sin from massacring the gala guests. N and Uzi actually run into them, specifically trying to get the basement key. But as they're trying to figure out a plan to actually grab the key, V attacks, splitting the whole group apart, and Jay ends up giving the key to N, while Tessa and Jay both stay back to fight off V herself. N and Uzi finally make it to the basement door and get it open, and the second they do, Eldritch Sin ambushes them. She completely destroys Uzi's crow body and starts dragging N further down the basement, but Uzi doesn't go down that easily. She manages to hack her way directly to Eldritch Sin's own body and takes control from the inside. Now here's where things actually genuinely get interesting. As N and Uzi are exploring down in the basement, they actually see a bunch of versions of N and V, except each of them is already a disassembly drone. Every single one of them. And it looks like they've all been experimented on. Each one has a body part missing or is missing some limbs or something. And it's showing the true horrors of what was really happening down there while Sin was locked up in the basement for timeout. Sin then proceeds to take back control of herself and straps En into a chair, fully intending on wiping his memories clean. Uzi briefly regains control for a moment, buying some time, but partway through she actually loses control again and Sin takes back control. And this is exactly when, in the present day, Uzi and Doll get into a full-blown fight over the key bug, the same little robotic bug we saw back in Cabin Fevers. This isn't happening before or after the Eldritch-Sin struggle, it's happening right in the middle of it, with Uzi's split focus being part of the reason why she loses control inside Sin in the first place. She's focusing on trying to save En and Uzi, while also trying to figure out how to keep the key bug away from Doll. Eventually, Uzi realizes she needs to give up the key bug and focus everything that she has back on saving En and V's memories. So she throws a key bug at Doll to just end the fight right there and gets her attention back to where it truly needs to be. Back inside the memory with Sin back in control, she tries to grab the scalpel herself to finish wiping En's memories completely. But she struggles to try to erase his memories. So she calls V to help her finish the job. And here's something interesting about En. Even when V is actively being used as a tool against him, En proceeds to give V back her glasses, hoping that it'll help her regain enough of herself to see clearly and be able to do what she needs to do. He's about to lose his memories entirely, but his first instinct is to still help V. It shows that En has always cared about V, even going all the way back to their days in the manor. And it actually works enough that V starts to regain a small part of herself and control over herself. But Sin eventually gets frustrated with the delay, pins V straight into the ceiling, and decides she's going to delete both of their operating systems entirely instead. And right as the scalpel's about to actually hit En, in the exact final second, Uzi claws her way back into control of Eldritch-Sin and stops it just in time. En and V both wake up in the present, memories restored back in Uzi's room. Uzi brings both of them back, and they kept their memories. But V actually starts attacking Uzi for going through her memories in the first place, which honestly does feel like a fair reaction, since it's kind of a violation of her privacy no matter how good Uzi's intentions were. Meanwhile, Doll, having gotten the key bug from Uzi during their little tug-of-war fight that they had, teleports out into the middle of Copper 9's wasteland, where she meets up with Tessa and Jay. She hands over the key bug to Tessa and Jay and asks to come along with them. Tessa, not trusting her at all, shoots her just to test her loyalty and make sure she's not actively trying to set them up for some terrible plan. Right after the exchange, Tessa and Jay turn around, come face to face with Uzi, En, and V, standing right there. And that's exactly where this episode ends, on a massive cliffhanger with the whole group standing ready to fight each other. Now let's go back to the gala itself, because this is where a lot of things actually happen. James Elliot is about to start his big speech, ready to talk about how classy and tenacious the Elliot family is, and then Sin interrupts him. Tessa and Jay immediately try to barge in to stop her, but Sin tells Tessa she didn't have to witness this, and then uses her absolute solver powers to take full control over every single worker drone in the dining hall, including Jay herself, and from there the massacre happens. Every single guest in that room gets slaughtered. And this is exactly where we need to talk about who Sin actually is, because this episode finally gives us her real origin story. Before any of this, Sin was a worker drone who served under the Elliot family directly, and this family notoriously treated their worker drones terribly, as we've clearly seen throughout the entirety of this episode, with the exception of Tessa. When Sin was no longer useful to them, she was improperly disposed of instead of being shut down right then and there. And because of this improper disposal, a glitch occurred, and that glitch is exactly how the Absolute Solver ended up inside of her. She didn't choose this, she was a worker drone who got discarded like garbage, and a single decision by this family is the reason why any of this even exists in the first place. So by the end of the episode, we've learned the full origins of what actually happened at the Elliot Manor, and exactly how En and V's memories got buried this deep. We also learned who Sin really was before she became who we know her as. We actually got to watch the Gala Massacre unfold and understand the true events of it. And we got left with one of the tensest cliffhangers in the entire series, with Uzi, En, V, Tessa, Jay, and Doll all standing face to face, ready for something to happen. That's everything we've learned this episode. Our next episode is going to have a lot of lore in it, but it's also not one of my favorite episodes of Merger, and still we gotta keep pushing this forward with this entire lore series, because we're nearly done. We're already halfway done with this show. So make sure you're all subscribed, hype the video so you don't miss anything out, drop a comment with your thoughts down below. And remember, I have a Discord server so y'all can join and see what I'm doing. And I'm genuinely thankful to all of you for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. And hopefully soon my 1,000 subscriber special will be ready soon. I will all see you on the next one. Panzer out.